The Hall of Judgment was built for giants. Tall black pillars rose high into the air, carved with symbols of power and conquest. Every step echoed, making even strong beings feel small. This was where laws were spoken and lives were decided. At the center stood Queen Valith. She was more than 8 feet tall, broad-shouldered, covered in silver-blue armor that looked grown, not built. Her eyes were cold and sharp, the eyes of someone who had never been challenged. To her people, she was strength itself. In front of her stood a human. He looked fragile in comparison, short, narrow, and dressed in plain dark clothing. No armor, no weapon, no rank marks. The crowd whispered, some laughed softly. Others watched with curiosity. A human had no place here. Queen Valith looked down at him and spoke, her voice deep and calm. You are too small, too weak, and too limited. Humans were never meant to stand beside us. You are not compatible with our kind in body or purpose. The words were sharp, meant to end the matter. The council members nodded. This was normal. Humans were often dismissed. The human said nothing. He only listened, his face calm, his hands relaxed at his sides. He had learned long ago that anger wasted strength. Queen Valith stepped closer. The floor trembled slightly under her weight. You should step back, she said. Your kind survives by knowing when to let go. She expected him to obey. Everyone did. Instead, the human reached out. Gasps spread across the hall. His hand closed around her armored wrist. Not tight, not weak, just firm. The entire room froze. This was not allowed. This was not possible. Queen Valith looked down slowly, her eyes narrowing. Her guards moved forward at once, weapons glowing. The council rose from their seats, shouting orders, but the human did not move. He did not kneel. He did not run. He did not let go. Release me, the queen said. Her voice low, dangerous. No one had ever touched her without permission. No one had ever refused her command. The human finally spoke. His voice was quiet, but it carried. No, he said. Silence fell heavier than any weapon. The guards hesitated, confused by the sound of refusal. Queen Valith felt something she had never felt before. Not fear, not anger, resistance. You think courage will change biology, she said. You think holding on will make you equal. The human looked up at her face. His eyes were steady, not proud, not desperate, just human. We don't win by size, he said. We win by staying. That sentence spread through the hall like a shock wave. The council whispered again. But now it was not laughter. It was unease. Queen Valith tried to pull her arm back. She expected him to be dragged forward, to fall, to break. He did not. His feet stayed planted. His grip did not tighten. His breathing stayed slow, for the first time in her long life. The queen felt something pull back, not strength, not force. Will? Her guards stopped moving, unsure. The crowd leaned forward. No one wanted to miss what came next. You are making a mistake, the queen said. Her voice was quieter now. You cannot hold what was never meant for you. The human shook his head once. Slowly, humans hold pain, he said. We hold loss. We hold hope even when it hurts. The hall felt smaller. The pillars no longer felt so tall. Queen Valith stared at the human's hand on her wrist. She could crush him easily. Everyone knew that. So did he. That was what unsettled her the most. He knew the risk, and still he stayed. Why? She asked, before she could stop herself. It was not a command. It was a question. Because someone has to prove you wrong, the human said. Not with force, but by not letting go for a long moment. Nothing happened. No weapons fired. No orders were given. Then the queen raised her other hand. The guards tensed instead of striking him. She signaled them to stand down. The council erupted in protest. "This is madness. This human is dangerous." Queen Valith did not answer them. Her eyes stayed on the human. "You believe endurance makes you equal," she said. "You believe that staying changes fate." "Yes," he replied. "It always has." Something shifted inside the room, something no one could name. The queen finally spoke the words that would echo across the galaxy. "Take him into custody." The guards moved carefully now, not roughly, not cruelly, almost respectfully, as they pulled him away. The human released her wrist. The moment his hand left her armor, Queen Valith felt the loss of it, and that feeling frightened her more than his defiance ever could. High above the hall, unseen systems recorded the event. Across distant worlds, data would later be replayed, analyzed, feared. This was the moment history changed. Not because a human fought, but because a human stayed. And the queen, for the first time, was no longer certain she was right. The human was taken through long silver corridors. Energy lights followed his movement like silent watchers. Alien guards walked beside him, tall and armored, but slower than before. They did not push him. They did not speak. That alone was strange in the Empire. Humans were moved like cargo, quickly, quietly, without care. This time was different. Behind them, the Hall of Judgment buzzed with unrest. Council members argued loudly, their voices sharp with fear and anger. A human touched the queen. A human refused an order. A human was not crushed. That was the part they could not explain. For centuries, the galaxy believed one simple rule. Big meant strong, strong meant important. Small meant nothing. Humans had always been small. They came late to the stars. Their ships were simple. Their bodies fragile, their worlds harsh. Most species believed humans survived by luck, or by hiding behind stronger allies. They were wrong. The human walked calmly. His heart beat steady, his mind clear. He had known this moment would come. Not the hall, not the queen, but the test. Because humans were always tested. Deep within the capital station, Queen Valith stood alone. Her armor slowly shifted back into resting form. The place where the human's hand had been still felt warm. She hated that feeling. She told herself it was nothing. Just surprise, just interruption. Yet her thoughts would not settle. She had faced beasts that tore cities apart. She had commanded fleets that burned worlds. She had never hesitated. But that human, small, silent, unarmed, had made her pause, not because of strength, but because of choice. He had chosen to stay. In the science sector, alarms did not sound, but tension filled the air. White halls stretched wide, filled with screens and data streams. Alien scientists gathered as the human was brought in. Some looked curious, others looked disgusted. "This is unnecessary," one said. "Humans are biologically limited. They break easily." "Then explain why he didn't," another replied. The lead scientist stepped forward, tall and thin, eyes glowing faintly. "We will test endurance," she said, "not strength." The human was placed inside a clear chamber. No restraints, no pain devices, just pressure. Gravity increased slowly. The air thickened, time stretched for many species. This was enough. Bones cracked, muscles failed. The human bent his knees slightly, adjusted his breathing, and stayed standing. Minutes passed, then more. Scientists whispered. Increase it, they did. Sweat formed on the human's face. His jaw tightened, but his eyes stayed focused. Queen Valith watched through a private screen. Unseen, her arms crossed, her mind sharp. She expected the moment of collapse, the proof she needed. It did not come. "Impossible," a council observer said. "No enhancement, no armor." The scientist checked the data again. "Humans adapt," she said slowly. "Not fast, but deeply." The test ended. The chamber opened. The human stepped out on his own. Breathing heavy, but upright, no cheers followed, only silence. Across the empire, records were being pulled. Old battle reports, lost colony logs, survival data no one had cared about before. Patterns appeared. Humans lasted longer than expected, recovered faster than predicted, returned even after defeat. They did not dominate. They endured. Queen Valith felt something tighten inside her chest. A truth pressing forward. Her people had measured power wrong. She dismissed the observers and walked toward the holding area. For the first time, she wanted answers, not proof. The human sat alone behind a light barrier. No fear in his posture, no pride, just patience. "You knew this would happen," she said. Her voice calm, controlled. "I hoped," he replied. "You challenged the Empire," she said. "You challenged me. I challenged the idea," he answered. "That humans don't belong." The Queen studied him closely. Not his size, not his weakness, his calm. "You are not strong," she said. "No," he agreed, and yet, she continued, "you are still here. Yes, outside the room." Alarms finally began to sound, not of danger, but of attention. Other species were watching now. The moment had been recorded, shared, questioned. The human looked up at the Queen. "The galaxy is about to learn," he said. "That humans don't win quickly. We win eventually." Queen Valith did not answer, because for the first time, she believed him. And that realization scared her more than rebellion ever could. The holding sector grew quiet, too quiet. The human sat alone, hands resting on his knees. The light barrier hummed softly. Time passed slowly across the station. Something had changed. Data streams moved faster. Security levels rose without announcement. Observers from other species requested access. The Empire did not deny them. That was another bad sign. Queen Valith stood outside the chamber longer than planned. She told herself she was waiting for reports, for analysis, for logic, but the truth was simpler. She was hesitating. Inside the chamber, the human looked ordinary again. No strength display, no challenge, just a man sitting quietly. That unsettled her more than his defiance. Finally, she stepped forward. The barrier lowered with a soft tone. "You should be afraid," she said. "Humans usually are." The human looked up slowly. "I was afraid before," he said. "Fear doesn't help anymore." That answer followed her inside her thoughts. "Fear doesn't help anymore." She circled him once. Her shadow passed over his face. He did not move away. "You embarrassed the council," she said. "You weakened my authority." "I didn't touch your power," he replied. "I touched the lie around it." Her jaw tightened. That was dangerous speech. Around them, unseen listeners leaned closer to their screens. Every word was being recorded now, not just for judgment, but for history. "Humans are temporary," Queen Valith said. "Your species burns fast and fades." The human stood up slowly. "Careful not to seem aggressive. We were born on a dying world," he said. "Every year tried to kill us. We learned early how to last." She felt the weight of those words. Survival was not strength in our culture. Conquest was. "And yet," she said, "you still break." "Yes," he answered. "And we get back up." The station lights flickered once. A minor thing, but enough to raise concern. In the control center, analysts watched rising stress markers. Not from the human, from the Queen. That had never happened before. A council member interrupted through the com. "Your Majesty, we recommend immediate removal. This human influences perception." Queen Valith did not reply at once. Her eyes stayed on the human. "Influence," she repeated quietly. The human met her gaze. "You're afraid of ideas," he said. "Because you can't crush them." That was the moment. The true turning point, not when he touched her wrist. Not when he passed the test. But when he named the fear, the Queen raised her hand. Security fields activated, heavy doors sealed. Gasps echoed across observation decks. "This session is private," she ordered. For the first time in recorded Empire history, the Queen shut out the Council. Silence followed, thick and dangerous. "You should not be alive," she said slowly. "Many would end you now." The human nodded. "I know." "Why accept that risk?" she asked. "Because humans don't wait for permission," he replied. "We step forward when silence becomes death." That sentence spread fast, even through closed channels. Someone leaked it across distant systems. Beings paused their work, listened, wondered. Queen Valith felt something shift again, a pressure inside her chest, a warning instinct she had trusted in war. The human was not dangerous because he was strong. He was dangerous because he was steady. "You will be tested again," she said. "Harder, publicly." "Good," he answered. "Humans perform best when watched." Her eyes narrowed. "You speak like this ends well." "It ends honestly," he replied. Alarms flared suddenly. Read this time, a real warning. An external transmission request forced its way through. Priority level maximum. A rival empire, ancient, massive. Watching quietly until now. "They have seen the footage," an aide said nervously. "They are asking about the human." Queen Valith turned sharply. "Already," she said, "the galaxy moved faster than she expected." She looked back at the human. "You have started something you cannot stop." He held her gaze. That's how change works, outside the chamber. Fleets adjusted positions. Diplomats prepared statements. Scientists argued over definitions of strength inside the room. Two beings from opposite ends of the power scale stood facing each other. The Queen finally spoke the words that sealed his fate. "Prepare him for the trial of continuance." Gasps erupted across hidden observation rooms. That trial was not meant for humans, not meant for anything considered weak. The human did not smile, did not celebrate. He simply nodded. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" she asked. "For letting the galaxy see us try." Queen Valith turned away slowly. For the first time, unsure if the Empire would survive unchanged. Because humans had entered the test, and humans did not quit. The trial of continuance had not been used in centuries. It was designed to break beings slowly. Not with pain, but with pressure, waiting, and isolation. Only the strongest species had ever survived it. Even they rarely passed unchanged. When the announcement spread through the station, fear followed it. Scientists argued. Commanders protested. The council demanded delay. "This will kill him. This will make us look cruel. This will expose weakness." Queen Valith listened to none of it. She stood alone on the observation platform, looking down at the empty trial chamber, a massive circular space surrounded by silent machines. She told herself this was necessary, that an empire survived by testing threats early. Yet her hands were tense, her breathing slow but heavy below. The human was escorted forward. No chains, no armor, only simple clothing. He walked at his own pace, not rushed, not dragged. That unsettled the guards. One of them spoke quietly. "He does not look like a challenger," another replied. "That is what makes this worse." The human stepped into the center of the chamber. Lights dimmed, walls shifted, the door sealed behind him. Across the station, screens activated. The trial was public, watched by millions. Not just to test the human, but to send a message. Queen Valith took her seat, high above, where all rulers before her had watched victories and failures. The first phase began, time distortion, minutes stretched. Seconds dragged. The human's body felt heavy. His thoughts slowed. For many species, this alone caused panic. Some screamed, some begged, some lost their minds. The human sat down slowly, crossed his legs, closed his eyes. That reaction caused murmurs across the watchers. "He is conserving energy," a scientist noted. "He understands waiting." Hours passed. Or what felt like hours, the human remembered training. Long nights, cold shelters, endless marshes. Humans knew boredom. They knew silence. The second phase activated. Memory pressure. Images filled the chamber. Loss, failure, death. Faces of people long gone. Voices of doubt. Moments of weakness. The human's breathing changed. His hands trembled slightly. Queen Valith leaned forward. Her chest tight. This phase ended many trials. The human opened his eyes. Tears formed, but he did not turn away. He whispered names, not prayers, not pleas, reminders. "He is anchoring himself," a scientist said softly. Using pain as weight, the council grew uneasy. "This is wrong," one member said. "He should be breaking." The third phase began without warning. Gravity surged, not enough to crush, enough to grind. The human fell to one knee. His breath came sharp, muscles strained, bones ached. Queen Velith's claws pressed into the armrest. "End it," a council voice urged. "This proves nothing." "It proves everything," another replied. The human pushed up, not standing, just refusing to fall fully. His hands pressed against the floor, fingers shaking, across the galaxy. Viewers leaned closer, some in silence, some in disbelief. "He is not fighting the force," a scientist whispered. "He is accepting it." Minutes passed. The pressure stayed. Finally, the system paused. The phase ended. The human collapsed onto his side. Breathing hard, eyes open, he was still conscious. A wave of noise swept the viewing platforms. Queen Valith stood without realizing it. The trial was not finished. But something had already changed. The final phase prepared. The one never meant for fragile minds. Isolation signal, all external input cut. No sound, no light, no sense of time. The chamber became nothing. Many species lost themselves here. Without pain, without fear. Just endless nothing. Inside the dark, the human breathed slowly. He remembered stories, songs, voices. Humans filled silence with meaning. Hours passed or days, no one could tell. Queen Valith remained standing, ignoring calls to sit. Her advisors watched her closely, concern rising at last. The chamber lights returned. The human lay still. A sharp intake of breath spread across the watchers. Then he moved, slowly, carefully. He rolled onto his back. Blinking against the light, he was alive. The chamber doors unlocked. Medical teams rushed forward, but stopped when the human raised a hand. He sat up on his own, pain clear on his face. But awareness intact, Queen Valith exhaled. A sound she had not realized she was holding. The council was silent now. No arguments, no orders. The human looked up toward the platform. His eyes found the queen. He did not smile. He only nodded once, not in victory, but in acknowledgement. Queen Valith felt the weight of the moment settle fully. The trial had not broken him. It had revealed him. And what it revealed terrified the Empire. Because if one human could endure this, then others could follow. And endurance, once seen, could never be unseen. The trial chamber slowly emptied. Medical teams moved back. Scientists whispered instead of arguing. No one celebrated. No one spoke loudly. Victory was not the right word. The human was guided to a recovery chamber. He walked with help, but he walked. That alone sent waves across the station. Across the galaxy, reactions began to spread. Some worlds replayed the footage again and again. Others shut their channels in fear. A human had endured what giants feared. In the command spire, Queen Valith remained still. Her advisors stood behind her, unsure. No one wanted to speak first. "The trial is complete," one finally said. The human survived. Valith did not turn. "I saw," she replied. What she did not say was this. She had felt it, every moment of his struggle. Every pause where she expected him to fall and did not. That disturbed her more than failure ever had. She dismissed the council with a raised hand. They obeyed at once. That silence was new, alone. Valith removed her armor plating. Piece by piece, each movement slow, heavy. She stared at her reflection, tall, powerful, unshaken on the outside. But something inside her had cracked. She remembered the moment his hand touched her wrist. Not tight, not desperate, certain. No one had ever chosen her presence over safety. Everyone else bowed or fled. The human had stayed in the recovery chamber. The human lay awake. Pain pulsed through his body. Every breath burned, still. His mind was clear. He knew this was not over. Trials rarely ended when survival embarrassed power. A guard stood nearby, watching him carefully. Not hostile, not kind, curious. "You should not have lived," the guard said quietly. The human turned his head slightly. "People say that a lot," he replied. The guard said nothing more. Elsewhere, emergency councils formed. Rival empires sent quiet messages. Observers demanded explanation, if humans could endure. Then the balance of the galaxy was wrong. Queen Valith received the reports without comment. Each message added weight, pressure from all sides. An empire built on dominance could not ignore endurance. She made her decision quickly, too quickly for the council. "Bring the human to me," she ordered. That command sent a shock through the station. Personal audience was not protocol. Not after a trial, not for a lower species. The human was escorted again through long halls. This time fewer guards, this time slower steps. He noticed the difference. Doors opened into a private chamber, wide windows showing distant stars, quiet, controlled, dangerous. Queen Valith stood alone at the center. Unarmored now, still towering. "You survived," she said. Not praise, not accusation. "Yes," he answered. "You embarrassed the Empire," she continued. "I revealed it," he replied. That honesty cut deep. She moved closer slowly, deliberately. "Do you know what you've done?" she asked. "I gave humans a face," he said. Instead of a number, her hands clenched. That was exactly the problem. Faces made empathy. Empathy weakened control. "You could have died," she said. "I still can," he replied. Silence stretched. Thick and dangerous. Finally, Valith asked the question she feared most. "Why endure this?" The human met her gaze. "Because if I fall," he said, "they will say humans always fall. And if you stand," she said, "then they have to rethink everything," he replied. Outside the chamber, alarms began to rise again. Not from danger, but from decision. The council demanded immediate action. Rival fleets adjusted positions. Queen Valith felt the Empire press against her, demanding certainty, demanding strength. But strength suddenly felt small. She looked at the human, wounded, exhausted, unbroken, and realized something terrifying. He had already won a battle she could not fight. "Perception? You will remain here," she said finally. "Under my protection." That sentence changed everything. The human nodded slowly. "Then the real test begins," he said. Queen Valith turned toward the stars, understanding at last. The galaxy was no longer testing humans. Humans were testing the galaxy. The chamber of declaration was larger than the hall of judgment. It had been opened only 3 times in Empire history. Each time for events that reshaped the galaxy. Now it opened again. Worlds tuned in. Empires paused fleets. Ancient species listened. At the center stood Queen Valith, armored once more, crown blazing with authority. Beside her stood the human. No chains, no guards holding him. That image alone shook belief systems. The council sat rigid, fear hidden behind discipline. Queen Valeth raised her hand. Silence fell across systems. Today, she said, we end a lie. Data screens activated, showing footage of the trial. Graphs of endurance. Records long ignored. Power, she continued, was never only strength. Murmurs spread. The human remained still, eyes forward, breathing steady. For generations, the queen said, we called humans weak, because they were small. She turned slightly toward him. They survived worlds that should have killed them. They endured losses that broke stronger species. Council members shifted uncomfortably. Humans do not dominate, she said. They persist. That word echoed persist. A rival empire attempted interruption. Signal blocked instantly. Queen Valeth did not pause. This human, she said, was told he was incompatible, unworthy, disposable. Her voice hardened. He refused to accept that, the human finally spoke. Voice calm, clear. We never asked to be superior, he said. We asked to be seen. That sentence spread faster than any fleet. Queen Valeth lowered her head slightly. A gesture no ruler had seen before. From this moment, she declared, humans are recognized as a continuant species. Gasps erupted across the galaxy. That status meant protection, equal standing, unquestionable right to exist. The council stood in shock. And, she continued, any empire that threatens humanity, threatens us. Silence turned into fear. Fleets powered down. Diplomats scrambled. The balance had shifted. Queen Valeth turned to the human. You may leave, she said. Or stay. He looked at her, at the stars beyond. We will return home, he said, but we will not disappear again. She nodded once. Understanding complete, as the human stepped forward. The galaxy watched closely. He stopped, turned back. You once said I should let go, he said. Yes, she replied. I will, he said. Now? He released her wrist, a gesture mirrored from the first moment. The queen felt it again, that strange loss. But this time, she did not fear it. Across the stars, history recorded the truth. Humans were not strong because they conquered. Humans were strong because they endured. And once the galaxy understood that, there was no going back. The age of ignoring humans ended. Not with war, not with domination, but with a human who refused to let go. Until the universe finally listened.